welcome Mr. Chesney Hawkes. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm actually really excited about this.
Oh, welcome to our new studio. You see, new studio has new sofas in it.
You've got guitars, you've got gramophones, you've got beautiful modern art.
That's right.
I mean, I'm comfortable. I feel looked after.
Well, you know...
somebody even made me a cup of tea. So,
what more can you ask for?
I mean...
Was it a human person?
Yes, it was, actually.
It's not a machine that's brought it to you, little wheeled out.
Little AI tea maker.
Yeah, that's what we're after. It's like a tease maid, is what we want. It's an updated tease maid. It brings you in the morning. Oh, good. I suppose you've been around in sort of the public eye for, a few years.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
I'd say a few decades.
A few decades. Yeah. And throughout that time, obviously, technology within your industry has changed.
Yeah.
How much do you lean into that typically, over that time? Ignoring AI for now.
Yeah.
Are you what other people might describe as an early adopter, or do you tend to go for more traditional methods?
No, I think I'm that typical kind of man that likes his tech, I'm not one of those guys that kind of will be the first to get the new iPhone and all that kind of stuff, but I do like my tech. In my industry, when I first put records out back in the early 90s, the internet wasn't even there. The tech is completely changed everything in the way that music is consumed, the way music is made, the way it's promoted. The internet's changed everything in our lives, hasn't it? But I actually really like it. The social media side of things has changed the way that artists communicate with their audience. So for me, back in '91, I would never have had the opportunity to have face-to-face with fans. Obviously now and again you meet fans and you sign autographs and all that kind of stuff, and you'll maybe now and again have a conversation. But these days you can DM people, and I do look at my DMs and I do answer people, and as much as I can. Obviously, it can be a little bit.
You'll have to answer a lot of DMs from Mike, I think, over the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, as he just why don't you love me, Ches?
Mike and I are best mates now. Did you not know?
So then when you're making music now and you look to the future, what is it that you see is gonna change, and what's going to happen, do you think?
Well, from now into the future?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, I feel like we're in the Wild West right now, because streaming has come along, and obviously financially it's changed drastically for artists. Back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, and even before that, there was real money to be made, from selling records. Physical sales of records are not really a thing anymore. Although vinyl is making a comeback, and my new album, which is out next month, available for pre-order now, of course.
It was a good plug. Yeah,
thanks.
What's the name?
I've been doing this a while, mate.
Yeah, segued in beautifully.
It's called Living Arrows. Living Arrows, and I'm actually releasing it on vinyl, cassette, and CD.
Cassette.
So I'm going old school with this one.
You'll need a pencil to rewind it.
Yes, indeed, or just a Bic.
Yeah. And other biros are available.
That's true. Sorry about that.
I don't think anybody cares.
No.
The financials around physical sales, I think, is probably fairly well documented, and that streaming giants probably don't pay the same amount as that.
So that's
however, I do wonder whether or not there's something, and what your thoughts are on this, sort of algorithmically, when it comes to Spotify or any other music streaming platform. Do you find that actually you get people stumbling across your music who perhaps you wouldn't otherwise have found you?
Well, it's funny. Algorithms are so manipulated by these big tech giants that I think we don't really have an option to kind of manipulate it at all, or to try and kind of get into those algorithms. It's like the holy grail now is to get on a For You page or for your music to be pushed a little bit more into other people's playlists and things like that. It's a difficult one because it's It's financially driven.
Yep.
Obviously, there are companies out there that will say that they will get you onto 100 playlists, and all you have to do is pay this amount of money. So I feel like it's not fair at the moment. It's not quite fair, that side to it. There are cases towards potentially legislating the way that these big tech giants use their algorithms on a more fair basis, which I would like to see going forward. As I said before, I feel like it's like the Wild West out there, and everybody's trying to figure out what is the best way to promote and put out records now.
Yeah.
And we haven't quite landed in a place where everybody's happy, and maybe we never will.
I think you touched upon it, the fact that actually data is king, isn't it? Data is what sort of drives everything these days, which of course is a wonderful segue into AI, of course, because algorithmically, Spotify is now probably driven by AI and has been for a long time in that. Do you use AI in your everyday life?
I've kind of dabbled here and there. I've used ChatGPT a little bit. I've used a little bit with images,
okay,
but it's more kind of just to kind of see what it's like and
playing with it,
rather than utilizing it, properly for business. I've played around with a little bit of the music, creation side of things, and I feel like it's kind of scary how good it is now.
Some of the song generation ones are actually pretty. Yeah, they're pretty reasonable.
They're reasonable. I think they lack heart at the moment. That's the one thing it's going to be difficult to. Yeah,
it's the soul of performance, isn't it? I mean, but that's the same in acting and in writing.
Hopefully, that human element that can never really be replicated in a computer, but.
Which is ironic, given what we're here to do today.
It is really, isn't it? But I am really excited about it because I love big leaps in technology like this, and I think obviously AI is exponentially moving in a direction that none of us really know what's going to happen, and it could be really scary,
including us. And we even today, as I said to you before you came in, and said we genuinely don't know what today's interview is going to do. We don't tell it to do anything.
But isn't that like exactly what you want? Because I was just thinking about this whole experiment that you've got here, like going on to do an interview with Michael Parkinson. You literally. It's a live TV.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's going to ask. You don't know what you're going to say. You're slightly on the edge of your seat anyway, with any interview, know. I mean, Parky was the greatest, obviously. So I feel like you've kind of inadvertently manufactured that kind of live, what's going to happen feeling of live TV interviews.
Sort of fizzing.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. So,
I mean, the nerves in me right now, they're awful.
Are they jangling inside you?
They're the same every single time. It's like, we genuinely don't know what's going to happen.
But the beauty of AI is that, every time you do an interview, you learn something and you move on and it
iterates.
Yeah, exactly. That I love.
And actually, that's one thing that, you obviously give more interviews than I do, but generally any interview I ever give, and I'd love to hear your experience on this, is that you do a prep call. So you kind of know where that interview is going to go because the pressure points that they're going to lean on, and most of them tell you in advance. Right, we're going to talk about this or we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, normally that is the case, and I did do a prep call for this interview, but it was mainly just talking about Windsor and and
your BFF badge. That you're
exactly,
and through the post shortly.
It's coming. I know.
So, but that prep call wasn't really So that prep call was to tell you about how AI Parky works, wasn't it? About the fact that there are pauses between the end of so-and-so and how to begin it and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and I had questions for Mike as well. I was like, I'm interested on a human level, like, how it must feel for him to hear basically his father talking and was it emotional and all that kind of side of it. We got into it a little bit.
Well, should we find out what it's really like?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.